Today we're on the west coast of Newfoundland and Labrador, fly fishing for Atlantic salmon with guest anglers Tracey and CD Clarke. We'll learn a little bit about the Atlantic Salmon Federation's effort in conservation and then head to the Salmon Interpretation Center in Hawke's Bay before going home to cook. I'm Kastine Coleman, a lifelong angler and your guide on this incredible journey through my home province, Newfoundland and Labrador. Welcome to Fishing the Rock. Fly fishing is a sport that you can do almost anywhere you can travel. It has the unique ability to help connect you with like-minded people and incredible places. Today, we're on the west coast of Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada, fly fishing for Atlantic salmon with Tracey and CD Clarke.
I am a director with the Atlantic Salmon Federation. I am sitting on the bank of the Humber River in beautiful Newfoundland, and I just caught my first Humber River salmon, a very large grills. It was absolutely beautiful. And we are here visiting from New Jersey and fishing with Kastine and Terry for a couple of days, and it's been just fabulous. ASF is the Atlantic Salmon Federation, and we are actually celebrating our 75th year. We are a not-for-profit organization. Our mission is to preserve Atlantic salmon and its environment. We are a science-based organization and very focused on advocacy.
My wife Tracey and I are up here on the Humber River. We came up here because at the ASF Gala dinner in New York last year, Kastine and Terry were kind enough to donate a trip to the auction, and we bought it. We were the lucky winners. Tracey and I are both directors on the ASF board. So the two of us have been on the board for quite a while now, and I'm actually a fine artist, and I've been able to use my artwork to raise funds. Both of us try and use whatever talents we have to do what we can for Atlantic salmon.
It won't look like that in 2 hours. I learned the value of doing these little thumbnail sketches from a famous artist named Hollis Williford. As he said, I know you're always in a hurry with the light changing and everything, but just take 15 minutes and do a thumbnail before you start and get this sort of the nuts and bolts ironed out. If the basic composition is wrong, all the best detail in the world is useless. And the pool's name is Boom Siding, is that right? It's always interesting. I always put something simple about where it is. I mean, you could flip through here and there'd be stuff from the Bahamas and Argentina and all over the place. So hard to break it down into job and time off. I mean, it's kind of a lifestyle. It's hard to say, you know, what's work and what's play. They all just kind of blend together, so the art takes me to the fishing and the fishing takes me to the art, I guess. Something like that. And one helps the other. Graduated from art school at Syracuse University in 1981. So I guess I started officially as an artist then. Although I had a professor that used to look at your work, which he'd say, that's great, now do another 1,000. Which sounded insurmountable at 20 years old, but he was right. Really, the only way you get good at this is to do it a lot and fail a lot. And rip them up and do it again. I have donated an awful lot. My wife and I both are directors on the Atlantic Salmon Federation board, so I especially recently, have donated a lot to them, but I've also donated to Ducks Unlimited, Bonefish and Tarpon Trust. So I'm more than happy to use my whatever talent I have to help out with the stuff that I love so much.
Organizations such as ASF have been really involved in their conservation efforts here in Newfoundland and Labrador because our salmon numbers are on a rapid decline. We're seeing a change in the mindset of local anglers because it is so evident that the returns are low. People are putting a lot more effort and doing everything they can to try to preserve the species.
I've been very fortunate in that I have had the opportunity to fish many places for Atlantic salmon in many different countries. One thing that I have noticed is that there is a lot more action around catch and release, which is near and dear to my heart. To quote Lee Wolf, he says, "A sport fish is too valuable to be caught only once." It's really important to me to see that there's a lot of people embracing catch and release here. And for that, Newfoundland, I commend you.
So we're here today on the northern peninsula of Newfoundland, and we are heading down to the river. We're with Andrew Clarke, who works with the Atlantic Salmon Federation. And we're just going to go down, give a little flick, and see what we can find.
I'm the Director of Conservation Campaigns for ASF. ASF stands for Atlantic Salmon Federation. We've been in the conservation end of the world for well over 75 years. So the Atlantic Salmon Federation is a research-based organization. We do a tremendous amount of advocacy for salmon and wild salmon rivers. We're up here in the northern peninsula. We've got receivers that we had to pick up that were in the ocean on the Strait of Belle Isle. Now that they've tracked the smolt migration, it's important to collect that information as best we can. We heard that there was a few fish around, so we just thought we would check out a few of the different rivers and see, where the water level was and the water temperature, and see what the fish were doing. And it's been, a great couple of days.
There's fish like right there. I'm not really interested in the fly.
I do a lot of traveling throughout the eastern part of Canada. I think one of the biggest things that I see as a continued need is monitoring. We do a fair amount of monitoring here in the province of Newfoundland. We can always do more. We do tracking along the Strait of Belle Isle to see what behaviors smolts and some adult salmon do.
Oh, I just missed him. I was definitely asleep on that rise.
It's hard for people to make decisions if they don't have the facts. Everyone has an opinion of what's wrong, what's happening, but it has to be based on research, it has to be based on science, and the only way to do that is through proper river monitoring. So there's counting fences that are put in place. There's snorkeling surveys that are done, from tip to tail of the river system. There's smolt tracking. There's adult tagging. It's real important that we continue to work with our partners to find ways and to do more monitoring, more research, more tracking, because it's an interesting species, unlike anything that we normally see.
Because the two black lines on here represent 63 centimeters of grill size. Anything over that is large. The camera goes 24 hours around the clock. So it's all recorded here, and the students, when we open the gates and close the gates, because I'll record it and they go back and mark down all the scores. So every fish that actually leaves this facility has to go through here.
The counting fence essentially counts all or a portion of these fish that come back. And it's important to understand that migratory route and those migratory trends. I think a lot of decisions are made based on the returning population. With climate change, with industry, with so many factors affecting the overall health of the population of salmon, a reporting fence is really important to be able to gauge, what's happening to the adult returns. The more that you can count, then the better the reaction is, even though it does take time, because we're talking about conservation and restoration. Your reaction time is a lot quicker.
Salmon and salmon fishing are very important to myself and other anglers in Newfoundland and Labrador. While it may be too little too late, it's great to see a strong presence of conservation organizations such as ASF digging in to find out why our salmon population is on the decline. We're back in the kitchen today and we are cooking up a very simple summery dish that my kids absolutely love. And it's just salmon in a miso marinade served on a bed of rice. I was at Coleman's grocery store this morning here in Corner Brook and I picked up a land-based Atlantic salmon fillet. This fish was raised sustainably with no hormones or antibiotics, and it's what I look for when I buy salmon from the grocery store. So we're going to start by cubing up some of this salmon to get it ready for the marinade. So for my marinade, I'm going to use a spoonful of miso paste. I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons of sesame oil and a tablespoon of rice vinegar. And now I'm just going to give that a good mix. So I've added the salmon here and now I'm just going to give it a little mix to coat and then set it aside for about 15 minutes. I'm just grating up some purple cabbage here, nice and thin so that it adds a little bit of a crunch and a pop of color to the dish. I'm just going to make a little bit of a dressing for the cabbage. I'm going to do a bit of sesame oil and a drop of vinegar, pinch of salt. So I'm going to give that a little mix and then I'm going to toss my cabbage in the light dressing. So now that I have them skewered, I'm just going to put a little bit of oil in the frying pan and fry them up until they're cooked. So these really only need a little bit of time on each side, and I'm just going to keep cooking them so they can cook but not burn. And I'm trying to get the skin pieces to stay on there so they can be nice and crispy. Okay, so I'm going to get a bowl of rice for the base of this dish. Salmon skewers on, and some of the purple cabbage that we marinated, some avocado, topping with some green onions, a few spicy peppers, and some of this toasted sesame seeds and nori. And then I'm going to top it with a spicy mayo, which is just sriracha sauce, mayo, and plain yogurt. Here's to another day on the water with new friends, making memories that will keep us hooked for a lifetime. I'm your host, Kastine Coleman. tight lines, and I'll see you next time on Fishing the Rock.